I wanted to bring a bit more of a positive tone to this video and focus on an aspect about poetry that is quite fascinating, which is its real life benefits and advantages. You know, everything has a purpose, and there's also what you may call unintended or unforeseen benefits that may
Like my
come as a
style?
result
Hit the
of
subscribe
acquiring
button
a
so you
skill.
don't miss any future videos.
I know there's an economical term for that, but in literature, you know, the primary benefit is perhaps to widen your understanding, to, you know, learn about new modes of presentation, and to kind of capture a fuller breadth of what the human condition really means. At least in the work of, shall we say, narrative, autobiography, and kind of personal testimony. Poetry is a peculiar manner of expression because its guidelines are so ambiguous. It's kind of hard to pinpoint, you know, a particular way to craft it, and therefore its definition is quite loose. So being involved in that gives you quite a strength, you know, because you can retain some power and control over words that you don't normally get if you are somebody that writes in prose, for example, which is kind of more structured writing. Or shall we say, unstructured grammatical writing. Because maybe the poetry is structured in some way, but it's not in a typical paragraph style. And so they do have stanzas, they do have, you know, groups, blocks of text in some cases, but the world of poetry extends far beyond that. You know, you can have stream of consciousness, you can have kind of just back and forth, you can have rhyme, etc. All of the literary devices can transfer over. So what I think is really cool is that you begin to tap into a sense of power with words that feels very useful to let out, you know, your most ambiguous feelings. And this is important because being human, the more we're able to kind of pinpoint exactly what it is that we're feeling, and even to address it regardless of how ambiguous it is, gives us a sense of security and validation. So psychologically, poetry is able to help us in that way because we're able to actually characterize the type of people we are on a very profound level that sometimes we can't quite do with the more, you know, conventional approach in formal writing. So we have this kind of freestyle improvisation that feels in some ways like a rejection of the world, because in poetry it's often fantastical or can be exaggerative or can be very out there. And not to say that it doesn't represent reality, but it's just perhaps a very atypical form. Really prioritizing the strength that exists behind words and associations, relationships between them. So it also can widen your vocabulary. You know, if you take somebody like Dr. Seuss, for example, who created a lot of different words on his own, this is quite a cool concept because now you've entered into a space where you're defining new concepts, and maybe they're not going to be widely accepted, but still quite a marvelous thought to think that you could, you know, extend the limits of language. So you have more ability, more ability to describe the experiences that you encounter, more capacity to understand how things might connect from an emotional level, psychologically, where some people are very limited in their ability to make such connections, associations. You might do them with ease because you have seen, these not just syntactical relationships, but also between ideas, images, symbols. So, of course, those can also extend cross-culturally. So when you examine poetry in different languages, then you also expand your field of vision quite a bit. So now you're taking in basically different dimensions of thought, due to these different perceptions across cultures, across lands, languages. So that's just the beginning. It's really a cool area, and I think it's a lot like music. I don't want to say it imitates music, but I think it has its own natural, intrinsic musical component, just like a lot of things do. And while it can be naturally harmonious, it also can be very dissonant. So it depends, it's like we do use a lot of the same types of words to describe literature as we do music, so that's kind of where that comparison draws from. But yeah, in any case, it is really a cool place to start if you're somebody that's interested in writing. It does align very well with the creative writing, area. And it's a lot easier if you want to jump in with poetry because there's simple structures. You can start with sonnets, haikus, things that are ordered. And then you can branch into more freestyle poetry that really has no structure whatsoever. And what's nice about that is that you have full, complete control. And I think that's something that a lot of people crave, but they don't know that that's available to them in the form of writing. And it is. But we were kind of taught in grade school that writing is something that's done for work, something that's done as a symptom of having responsibility. And that doesn't have to be the case. It can also be a very liberating hobby or assignment that we give ourselves just to, feel better about something or to, elevate our consciousness in a particular way. So ultimately, writing can manifest too in creating books. So what better to do than to write for yourself, but also to write for the world, you know, to put out something that other people can enjoy. And poetry sometimes too is an easier place to start than a novel, you know, or something very grand. Maybe easier to compartmentalize the ideas. Poems can be a lot easier boxes to fit them in, as they're often themed. You know, they can have a story, but it doesn't have to be, you know, dozens, hundreds of pages long, for example. So yeah, hope you liked that video. Just a little encouragement, maybe think about getting into the hobby. Just start writing a little bit, you know, all you need is a pen, some paper. You can do it on your phone, on your computer, but nothing beats, you know, the simple feel of the, you know, the fresh ink or fresh lead. So definitely recommend to go that direction with it. So anyway, thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care and peace out.